Hello. I don't know what just happened. I'm sorry. Hello and welcome back to Little State Big Voices with myself, Shahida, and my fabulous co-host Tracy.
Hey y'all.
So it's been warming up here in Rhode Island. I feel like everybody's mood has changed a little bit. How about you?
Mhm. It's been gorgeous. So the days that have been nice have been like spectacular. The sun is really like making me want to come outside, even when I'm not wanting to be outside. And then when I'm out, I'm wanting to stay out because I'm like the sun's still out, so I'm supposed to be out.
Stay out and spend money. I'm like,
That part.
it's stay out and spend money. The nights have been unusually cold. So
Hmm.
when I'm like at work or during the day, I'm like, I'm gonna go out after I finish work because it feels so good. But then at 5 o'clock, it's like the temperature just drops. Like,
Yeah.
we're back in October, November, so that's kind of crazy. But there's a couple of events that are coming up. One that we missed, and that was Water Fire. They're having
Yeah, the
Water
18th.
Fire
That was April 18th. But another one's coming.
May 11th. So I'm excited about that. And I was saying to Tracy a few minutes ago that you explain again what water fire is for people who are not from Rhode Island.
So if you're not from the area you're planning to visit, or if you're from Rhode Island and you've never done water fire but heard of it, it's basically there's a canal. I want to say it's a canal that
Mhm.
runs through Providence, and I guess the water probably runs in other neighboring towns, but it runs right through the heart of downtown Providence. So there are two sides that you can kind of stand on either side and look into the canal. So, what started as an art exhibit of these huge metal bowls of fire, I mean, they're really large. I don't know what the size is, but they light those with fire. And when the sun goes down, it's just an amazing view. I don't know how many bowls there are. There are at least, I want to say, 5 to 10, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's closer to like 10 because it's a lot because it start
It's the length
just
of the
like where the
canal.
Providence Mall is, and then down towards the pedestrian bridge. So
Right. And if you wanna ball out, you can actually get the gondola ride experience and pay to
Mhm,
get in the canal with an experienced boat captain
mhm,
of the little gondola. It's like a little canoe looking thing,
mhm.
like what you would see in Venice. And they will take you around. So it's really romantic, but it's also great for the family too, if you want to just watch from the sides.
And so I was telling Tracy that the very first water fire I went to when I first moved here, so it had to be 2001. And our
Mhm.
first summer, I invited my mother and my brother, and to come to Rhode Island because they have this big thing called the water fire, and we were so
Mhm.
excited, and we were expecting fireworks. So when nothing was lighting up the sky, and I see the gondola just go, and I'm like, that's not it. That's not it. I was
It's
expecting some fireworks, and
it's water and it's fire. It's
that's
water fire.
but it wasn't a fail night because there was so much food, there were so many vendors, there were a lot of artists. I mean, you're really walking from like downtown all the way up through Brown, and that was before the pedestrian bridge. So I
Yeah.
haven't been to a water fire since they've built the pedestrian bridge, so I have to go and check out one. So it's a great night, and it's usually extremely packed, which is good.
So I've watched it from the sides, and there are no, I want to just say on certain sections, there are no guardrails. So
Oh yeah.
stand up on the edge of that at your own risk. That's all I'm saying. Stand up there at your own risk and dangle your legs over there if you're a strong swimmer. But also, I've watched it from Jackie's Galaxy, the restaurant.
Yeah,
Have you ever
yeah.
watched it
Mhm,
from
mhm.
Jackie's? So if you're smart and strategic, you could try to get like a corner table at Jackie's, which this restaurant is almost entirely glass windows on certain points of the wall. So you can have a really beautiful meal, observe the water fire, but people who know, so they try to get those reservations early.
So yeah, it's great. The weather has been good. I just want to do before we go into thanking our fabulous guest from TEDx. I just want to thank two of my fabulous friends from our book club.
Yes.
Tracy and Robbie for this like fabulous Costa Rica pen. They brought all
Teresa?
the ladies back from Costa Rica, and so thank you again, ladies, for thinking about us while you're on your vacation. You didn't invite us. You didn't invite me anyway, but I'm glad you had a great time.
But Teresa is actually like she's a regular listener. She's definitely a loyal listener. I know Robbie listens as well. Actually, shout out to the whole crew at Revolut app. But we'll have Robbie on
And
a later episode.
all our butterflies, because they
Everyone,
they
all of our
support, so
butterflies.
we appreciate it. And I also want to shout out again to our guest last week from TEDx Roxbury. It
Yes.
was a fabulous interview, and I mean, I'm even going to shout out Riverside Studio, because the clarity and
Hmm.
the preciseness of the video for all those people on one platform was actually spectacular. So thank you, Dr. Shemaine, Dr. Ayana, Kurt,
Hmm.
Shelly. You guys were fabulous, and we hope to see you. Well, we definitely will see you next week,
We'll see you
May
this
4th.
this Saturday,
Yep,
this week coming up. So
May 4th. Can you
yes.
believe it? I can't believe we're already in May. And before we get to anything else, we got to shout out my baby, who's going to be 13, May
Uh,
May 1st.
go on, Darius. Go head on. Who named
May
him?
1st. I'm like, why? Why are you so, I miss my little baby.
What? So when I told him that I was going to take you to the club this weekend, what was his reaction? Because she had FaceTime me the other day, and Darius happened to be there. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to take TT to the club this weekend." He kind of was like, "Whatever."
He's like, mm-mm. We had movie night last night. We ended up watching, what is it? They cloned Tyrone.
Yeah,
Did
it
you
was.
see that?
I did see
That
it.
movie was so good. I loved it. It was like my third time.
You had to really pay attention. That's not a movie you can be in your phone
No,
while you're
no,
watching it. You
we
have to
watched
watch
it.
the movie and you have to really pay attention.
And
But I did
I'm not
watch it.
usually a huge fan of Jamie, what's his name?
Fox.
Jamie Foxx.
I actually liked him in that role.
He owned that role. He was hilarious. That he was, I mean, I think he just totally made it, the whole movie. It was
Mhm.
really good. It was really
It's a movie that makes you think.
yeah. So anyway, what Rhode Islanders, we got to shout out Rhode Island's doing big things, and that's our own Viola Davis from Cranston. No, not ooh. I'm sorry.
Pawtucket, no?
No, she's
Oh
not from
no.
Pawtucket.
Well, what it Central Falls.
Central Falls. I'm so sorry, Miss Davis.
I almost said Fall River. Girl, we
I,
sorry, Miss Viola. Sorry, ma'am.
we are so sorry. But she's, establishing a publishing company. Her and her husband, Julius Tennant. It's called JVL Publishing, and it's. I guess they're just in the works of doing it. But for all these writers and artists that we have, I'm saying, look up, sis. You never look
I
it
feel like
up.
she's gonna be genuine. Like I feel like this is gonna be genuine and not a bunch of
Yeah, she wants
BS.
our stories. That's part of their platform.
But a lot of, not a lot, but I feel like there are other producers, actors, whatever, people who said, "Oh, we're gonna do this for the culture," and then it's like, but you still gatekeeping. I almost feel like she's gonna give a little bit more breadth. Of wideness for people to actually get in. I think it's not going to be so much of a bottleneck because there's some other people out there who have imprints and other stuff
Mhm.
like that. And I'm like, who's on your imprint, ma'am? I ain't seen you put
Yeah,
nothing out.
yeah, I think you're right. It's just them. It's just them, or it's a selected few. And that's the thing, art right now, and I've learned that now by being part of Rhode Island's, Lit's Arts. And I was at a event yesterday. It was the BIPOC Creative Coffee what was it? Coffee Hour and
Coffee hour
Coffee Hour
and right in.
and it was like my second time going, and so you're connecting with all type of writers and creatives for of color. And we have so many, and I really, Lit's RI does a great job, bringing us all together. And that's why I
Mhm.
think something like this, a publishing company, and I respect her so much, and I agree with you. I think she'll be very authentic about bringing in all these voices. But you have so many people with so much talent, and you're tired of seeing the same things. You
I am. I am. We talked about this a little bit yesterday
know?
when we talked about the new Good Times animation that's on Netflix. And we weren't really planning to actually dive into that in this particular episode, but honestly, I feel very let down
Mhm.
that that got greenlit. I just feel like we've come too far to bring ourselves back. We already know things are regressing. Why aid in the regression with that type of narrative out there? I wasn't feeling it. I didn't like it.
I agree. I mean, I watched all 10 episodes, and the producer was saying that, you have to watch all 10 to see that there are clear messages in the episodes, and there are very good messages in the episode, fighting the power, cleaning up neighborhoods, getting rid of but they did it the absolute wrong way. I can't recommend
Yeah.
anybody read it, I mean listen or watch it, to get the messages that the buffoonery just covers up.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to make this one point before we move on.
Hmm.
JJ was an artist. He was an
Yeah.
architect. He left the projects to further his career. Thelma was a dancer, married to a football player who ended up with the Chicago Bears. Michael was never going to be poor. That man was smart as hell.
It's in the air.
He was going to law school. Which
Hmm.
one of their children fell so hard that they ended up back in the projects? They never addressed that. They never said whose child this character Reggie is or whatever. But literally, they were back in the projects. Their oldest son sleeping on a couch, a sofa couch.
And to be clear, ain't nothing wrong with the projects, okay? I was very project adjacent growing up. And if you ask my husband, and I will fight him, he will tell you that I grew up in the Camden Street projects. It was not the projects, but he will call it the Camden Street projects because I grew up across from, if you're from Boston, I grew up across the street, literally one street over from Lenox project. So I very project adjacent. Nothing wrong with that. Amazing people come from those communities. But to your point, why if you in 2024, 2023, 24 have the option to put content out into the world, why put that out? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything about that.
Stereotypes, the same tropes, and the worst stereotype was the baby was a drug dealer. Stop
Hated
playing with
that.
me.
Hated that
Stop
so much.
playing with me.
Not only a drug dealer, because I probably could have laughed at the drug dealer piece. He was a drug addict
Mm,
doing cocaine. I hated that
it
so
was.
much.
It was. And I think towards 10, you know what? I'm not talking it up.
Yeah, bye. Bye. On to the
right.
next.
Yep. So, what else is going on, Tracy? Because
Well, so speaking of giving voice and giving opportunity in Black media, I'm wearing, can y'all see my Black Spurt shirt?
mm-hmm.
I'm wearing this shirt in honor
Okay,
of
that's
the
exciting. Okay. I thought it was
club.
Blackberry. I don't know why. Sorry.
No, Black
I
Spurts,
know now.
Black experts. So I got this shirt at an Amanda Seals show. I don't even want to call it a comedy show because it was so much more than that. It was when she came to Boston. What year was that? 22?
I think so. I think so. You,
21, 22.
Tanya, and
Amanda Seals. She came to the Wilbur Theater. Actually, Shahida and I went with Tanya
I went.
from Still Dope Podcast. And we got these tickets. And I think we just kind of followed Amanda Seals
Mhm.
on socials. I until I actually watched the Club Shay interview, which is 3 hours long,
I
as
was
Shay
one
Shay likes to
hour.
do. I watched it, but when we went to that particular show, we got a history lesson, we got a game show, a comedy show, we got a parade of local celebrities. That show was everything,
Yeah,
and
it
I
really
felt
was.
compelled to buy merch. I bought this. I bought a little pin, like a enamel pin. I bought a tote bag. I should have brought the tote bag in here with
Mhm.
me. I bought so much stuff because I really stand behind this black woman. And actually, her HBO special, I Be Knowing, amazing HBO special.
I love it.
So
Mhm.
I honestly didn't know that she was canceled until she came out and said she was canceled.
I didn't know that she was canceled. I know that she has like some issues with people, because I listen to her podcast as well, because she has two, the Amanda Seales show, and then the other one is,
Oh, what's the name of her other
oh
podcast? I'm gonna
yeah,
look.
let me look it up real quick.
It has a good name too.
It does.
We like to be accurate, folks, so don't mind us doing research in real time. Small doses.
Yeah, small doses. She does a little song intro. So I listen to both podcasts. I like her. She's very intelligent. I
Extremely.
go Tracy, because you watched 3 hours of that interview, so I feel like you have more knowledge of how it went. I watched an hour and then I saw clips because I was very disgusted with Shannon Sharpe. I felt like he came in with preconceived ideas and notions about who she was, and he wanted to get her, catch her in
Mm.
a moment, and so can you just explain to us a little bit about how you felt, and how you feel about Amanda and her, and why she's so misunderstood? Is she misunderstood?
She describes herself as very misunderstood.
Okay.
She describes herself as being like an outlier in the black Hollywood community, someone who's not accepted into the inner circle, someone who's vilified by black mainstream media. So these are all things that she said in the interview. I'm not saying these things about her.
Mhm.
As far as Shannon Sharpe, I feel like he was being himself because based on other interviews I've watched him in,
Mhm.
I feel like he kind of tries to go for the he tries to get his Wendy Williams on, for lack of a better term. He tries to get to the meat of, because he brings these people on the show for a reason.
Yeah.
They're usually like hot and trending when he brings them on.
Mhm.
So he's, I think, using the voice of the audience, and then he does do a little of his own pushback. So to your point, there were a couple of times where he kind of came for her a little bit when she was talking about what she perceived to be racism when she was in school, as young as, child elementary school age.
I want to talk
And he
about that too.
and she had mentioned a particular incident with a teacher. Now, oftentimes in her stories, Amanda is breaking the rules, the quote unquote rules, but sometimes these are societal rules that are bullshit anyway.
Mhm.
So I get her being that person because I was kind of that kid in school where if something didn't make sense to me, I wasn't trying to follow the status quo. I'm like, this rule doesn't make sense, therefore it does not apply to me. I'm very much an Amanda Seales
Mhm.
in that regard. So I guess she did something in class. I can't even remember what,
Weren't they on
but she
a
was
field trip or something?
like, I thought it was in the
Okay,
classroom.
it could be.
But she was blatant. There was one instance where she was blatantly called the N word. And Shannon Sharp was like, well, kids will be kids. And I was just like, no, sir.
That's what I want.
No, 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 no. We're not going to do that. And she pushed back every single time on him.
Mhm.
And I think why people don't like her is because she does stand up for herself and she often can back it up, not only with her emotional reaction, but a very educated response. She's a brilliant woman. She calls herself a genius.
Mhm.
So, and she is very smart.
It
Where I had an issue with her is when she called herself being neurodivergent. But go ahead.
Okay. So before we get to that, I did want to talk about the racism part
Yeah.
and his pushback and saying, well, kids will be kids, and dismissing her feelings on,
Yeah, he said, "Oh, they were kids and they probably learned racism from their parents." Okay, but that don't make it right.
and that's what I have like a strong issue with. Black children are taught to forgive consistently when they are treated that way.
Mhm.
White children are told that's not a nice thing to say
Mhm.
to a black person. But really, what it is that white child at 10 years old knows right and wrong. They know right or wrong. And
Right.
know that words, certain words, not are just mean, but dehumanizing. And that's what that child was, or those children were doing to her, probably because she was smart, mouthing out. And when you feel that, you want to, with white children, white men, white women, when they feel that you've gone maybe a step too far,
You getting uppity.
too
They don't like a
right,
uppity.
they need to bring you back down to earth and
Hmm.
dehumanize you. And I'm very, very tired of giving white children so much grace in those
Hmm.
moments.
Yeah.
They learned it from their mother, they learned it from their father or their household or whatever. And these same kids, because we've given them so much grace, who did they turn out to be when they get older? The people
Yeah.
that we work with, the coworkers that we work with,
Our
our
managers.
bosses, our managers, presidents, all kinds of things, because we've given them so much grace instead of really going to the bat. Because you're not protecting our children's soul. You're not protecting them
Yeah.
by telling them consistently that when a person dehumanizes you, it's okay because they learned it from their household and it's not right. That's it.
And that happened at Disney. That's when so the she got called a derogatory name,
Hmm.
and she experienced a lot of racism at Disney.
Hmm.
The incident with the teacher was her talking back
Right.
to the teacher or whatever, perceived, she corrected the teacher on a fact,
Yeah.
because the teacher was talking about, I believe it was Aboriginal people
Yeah.
or
It was.
some other cultural people, and Amanda was like, no, they're not. The teacher said they were prehistoric or something crazy like that,
Stupid.
and she
Hmm.
said, no, actually,
I
I
still
read up
here.
on this and XYZ, and she was right.
Hmm.
So Shannon's whole point was, well, where I come from, you don't correct a teacher, and so, listen, we black, we get all of that. Respect your elders, don't talk back, children are to be seen and not heard. We all
But
grew
is
up
it
with that.
talking back when you tell somebody, well, this is the actual
She
fact?
was
That's
embarrassed.
not
The
talking
lady was
back.
embarrassed.
That is, you have to. And that's again, I was very disappointed in him. And that's kind of what
That's
I
how he
started.
is, though. He's like that in every interview. Like, he's and I try to keep in mind, I don't know how old he is, but I think he's what, mid to late 50s. Is he mid to late
I think
50s?
he's, close to my age.
And Southern. So I feel like that may play into some of his response to some of these things.
Well, the reason why I say bullshit on that is
Okay.
only because there have been times, especially when he was on the show with what's his name, Skip. He rode hard he
Well,
rode hard.
50.
The sports show that he was on. What's his name? Skip Bailey or something like
Oh
that.
no.
The white
Oh no, no, no.
the
Girl, I
white
don't know
guy,
what.
and calling him out on his racism and subtle
Mm.
racism went hard. So I don't think that that really applies, because there have been times when he has come straight out and called a racist, period. I
Oh, but
think
this wasn't about racism. This was about authority.
no, no, but that's again a same thing.
Not a Disney thing. That, yes, that was BS, and he was
No, the
fucked up
reason
for
why I
that.
say the whole thing is BS
Yeah.
is because
Okay.
he has the ability to see the whole thing. And he knows as a child, and even growing up in the South,
Yeah.
he knows as a child how racism and how racist teachers were, and in how Black children are very often punished for things that a white child will never be punished for. He knows that
Hmm.
this thing in this interview, and I feel like if it was a man who had said it, or if it was somebody other than her, who he came in with a kind of like a little chip on his shoulder, like I'm gonna put her in her place. If it was somebody
Yeah.
else, he would have been more understanding, because he understood. He just
Yeah.
wanted to be combative.
Yeah, he definitely. But then I'm like, he's also. I don't know if that's real liquor that he's pouring, but he's pouring quite a bit throughout every episode. I'm like, sir, I don't know if this is safe for you, because. But that's when the truth comes out. If it's real liquor, that's when. Listen, it's truth serum. But she, yeah, she. So she was a kind of a precocious, I guess, child,
Oh
in a
yeah.
lot of ways. And what she did give her mom credit because her mom's a Caribbean woman from Grenada. Her father's
Oh, but
actually
she's
from
white.
Roxbury.
Her mother's white.
Her mother is not white, and she
Her,
listen.
her mother's white.
No, her mother is
Her
not a
father's
white
white.
woman.
Her
No, she's
father's
not.
white. Oh,
No,
she
no, her
she sat
neither
next
of
to a white person when she was pregnant.
who
That's
neither one of her
that's how
parents was white.
stupid he sound, not doing his thing. I mean, he was trying to make her so white adjacent, it was ridiculous, and you didn't even.
And she brought up the colorism. She brought up the colorism. She brought up the, the color line, and that she experiences privilege because of her color. She acknowledges all the, again, she's very intellectually awakened and
And aware
aware. So
of
she
herself.
did, there were some things that rubbed me the wrong way about how she was on the interview because, but that's why some people find her a little grating.
Because I'm like all on her side, but I didn't watch the whole 3 hours. So what kind of rubbed you the wrong way?
So she would often put herself in scenarios, but then she would deny that her actions caused the reactions that happened to her.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that it's like you have to have accountability. If you're going to be a rule breaker and you're going to kick in doors and you're going to, be Amanda and be in people's face, then you have to acknowledge that if you're going to go against the status quo, you're going to go against the authority, people are going to hold you accountable based on the rules of society.
Mhm.
And that was one of the things that Shannon said, like, don't you know how to play the game? She's like, I wouldn't even call it a game, but she does know. So when she tried to correct her teacher, it's not something that's done societally. So while she was right, it was the wrong place and the wrong time for that. She got in trouble at school. I think somebody ratted her out. She was like, she had earphones in or something at school, so she got in trouble for that. That was their rule. They held her, accountable. But sometimes accountability from authority could be overkill. So I think they like
Mhm.
ended up kicking her out of school. Then she, but she does these things.
Mhm.
She's very provocative, but then she expects not there not to be ramifications.
Mhm.
So the adult version of that is that Hollywood party she got kicked out of. She got kicked out of the Black Emmys party
Mhm.
because Issa Rae's publicist did not want her there. Like the
Mhm.
woman doesn't like her. She like called her on the phone, was like, I do not like you. But she went to this party that she was invited to. However, she was asked to leave,
I don't
and
think she was invited. She
she
wasn't.
said she was.
The first story that I heard is that she wasn't invited, and then she called the publicist to ask her if she could come to the party, and the publicist told her no, and she showed up anyway.
So that wasn't the version she told on Club Chase.
So
What
that's
she
another
said is,
version that she told, because that
what
was
she
the version I heard from her the first time. Like I had.
so and there have been discrepancies in some of her stories, which is another reason people don't like her ass because sometimes she be telling on herself because she talked too much. But anyway, love Amanda.
Mhm.
But what she said is that Elijah Kelly, the actor, invited her to this party.
Mhm. Mhm.
But she already knew that another I guess whatever of the party, funder of the party was this woman, this publicist who does not like her.
Mhm.
So she kind of was pulling up knowing that she was unwelcome.
Mhm.
So she was told, she was refused, I think, twice at the door, twice. And then what she did was she she ran into someone, Elijah Kelly, who said, oh, come in with me. No, actually, she said Jesse Williams invited her.
Mhm.
She said Jesse Williams invited her, but she ran into two people who said, why are you leaving? Because what she was doing was getting kicked out,
Mhm.
hanging around outside a little bit, running into people trying to get in. So she manipulates scenarios to her own desires. Let's put it like that.
Mhm.
So she ended up being removed by security
Mhm.
eventually. But ma'am, how many times do you have to be told no? Take your behind home and take your L.
Yeah.
So like
But once
that
you knew
those are
that
the
that
things.
woman didn't want you, you shouldn't have showed up.
Yeah.
Um, I do.
But she likes to buck. She likes to buck the system. I get it.
I get it, but like you said, you got to take the L. One thing somebody said to me, my daughter said to me that Amanda,
Hi Mia.
she said, I wish I had like taped her saying it because it was just very true. I like Amanda
Me too.
and I'm going to support her and I'm even going to defend her to a certain extent. But I know in real life a little of Amanda would go a long way for me. It's not like we're going
Do
to
you mean small doses of Amanda?
there you go. Right. Small doses of Amanda would go a long way. So the thing that Mia said, she's that person that you're at a party and y'all are just vibing and having a good time. And then she'll get into an argument with the guy and then expect everybody to want to be in an argument with that guy and just ruin the whole vibe. And it's just like every time we're out, you can't be on 10. Just chill.
Yeah.
And she does on 10. And and I'm a lot like Amanda, but I'm
Mm.
older. So when you talk about being young and telling a teacher what this, if I read something in an encyclopedia, I'm going to tell you that day.
Yeah.
If it was, and I'm going to. Luckily, most of my teachers were African American, and they could put me in my place, but then also, refer to the new information and expound on it in some kind of way because they were good teachers. Right?
Yeah.
You don't be intimidated by a 10 or 13-year-old who's giving you other information. You explain, but anyway, that's another story.
And to
So
be clear, she was in Florida.
yeah, well, so I
So,
understand a lot of her
mhm.
and how she reacts because I know
I do
sometimes
too.
too, we could be all vibing and blah 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 blah, and I'll bring up politics. Shahida, you fucking up the vibe, girl.
But the thing is, own it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you're gonna go in there, take accountability. Don't say
Exactly.
everyone's bullying me because blah blah blah. I actually unfollowed her one time. Did you know
I
that?
did too. I
And
unfollowed her.
why did you unfollow her?
Unfollowed her because I did not like her take on Tamir Rice's mother when she was
Mm.
saying that she was in it for a buck when because she was going hard on what's his name, the what do they call him, Talcum X, I can't think of his name.
Oh, they call him all kinds of stuff.
Right,
He
and
he
I
really
don't
gets
like
a
him
bad rap.
very much either, and I thought that was a wrong take. Regardless of what you might think, this woman lost her son. And
Yeah,
you owe
that was
her some type
yeah,
of respect. And coming out the way you did was utterly disrespectful. And I
yeah,
didn't like it. So I did unfollow her at that time. Why do you unfollow?
yeah. I unfollowed because I didn't it was at the time that Little Nas X did his video where he like slid down the hell on the
Okay.
the stripper pole. I personally didn't like the marketing that he was doing for that
Mhm.
because he was doing a lot of satanic-y stuff, which I'm not going to support that. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. And I'm not like some kind of uber like Christian religious zealot.
Mhm.
I don't like that stuff. I don't like when you play with that stuff
Mhm.
in my face, and I don't like it as marketing. And then he had like commissioned the sneaker with Nike that had like a drop of blood or something. It was
It
just
was just
getting
weird.
disgusting to me, and I didn't like it.
Mhm.
So the reason I unfollowed her is because she got on lives talking about if you don't support him, you're homophobic. I'm like, no, heifer.
Yeah.
That ain't got nothing to do with it. Like,
Mhm.
be gay all day. I love me a gay. Okay.
Mhm.
That has nothing to do with it. I did not like the way he was playing
Mhm.
with that for clout. That was, and I unfollowed her for a little bit, but then I think I just was like, you know what?
Yeah,
I
I
saw
went
her
back
again,
a
and
couple of matter of fact,
yeah,
I think the time I went back was around the time that we went to her show. So I was just like, okay, she's coming to Boston, I'm going to follow her again. And I had stopped listening to her podcast too because at a time I again love her small doses. She
yeah.
can be a lot.
She knows.
She can be a lot, and
She
she
knows.
doesn't know how to rein it in yet. But I do not like the whole thing in essence that they did about her, like, them not liking her. Essence, you're supposed to support and uplift Black women. That was not a good take at all. I know it was like an opinion piece, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a good piece, and it didn't even have any good relevant information of why you don't like her other than, she's brash. You and I feel like what you just said about her saying, oh, you're homophobic. No, that's your take.
Yeah.
And her attack on Tamir Rice's mother, that, that's your take. You can't, I can disagree with you. And I feel like a lot of times she has issues when you disagree with her, and then she takes it up.
And so she says people say she's difficult to work with. So Monique is out here saying the same thing. Like, people say I'm difficult to work with. You have to kind of deduce that some people are not team players. Some people are not good at getting going along to get along, which
Mhm.
if that's your whole like soapbox, and you don't want to play the game, you don't want to sell out, you don't want to do the things, that's fine, but don't say you had a mental breakdown because people don't like you. So she said she had a mental breakdown.
But I could see that though. I could see,
I
because, like
Yeah,
you said, there's a certain accountability that comes with being aware of why people don't like you. That's hurtful, and
yeah.
I could see that could actually lead to a breakdown. I mean, and I think part of the reason why I didn't like the interview so much that I saw, because I only saw the 1 hour, was
Mhm.
I felt sorry for her because she was constantly on defense, constantly trying to relate to this man that just really did not.
She held him accountable at
Mhm.
in all the right ways. I think
Yeah,
she held him accountable in
did
all the right ways. He
very
actually
eloquently as well in the
he
hours.
started pivoting. He started pivoting a little bit,
Mhm,
but then he also kind of was like, you know what? I'm not even going to go here with this lady because I'm not going to win
mhm,
this my side of the argument with her. So I think he's toward the end of the interview. She actually asked him for a hug at the end of the interview,
mhm, mhm.
which I was like, girl, why?
Yeah.
Because she said she's actually like denied hugs from people who have been fake to her in the past.
Mhm, mhm,
So she said she'll be somewhere and someone will be like, "Hey, girl, give me a hug." She's like, no, we're not cool like that." And so Shannon was like, "You want to hug? You actually want to hug me?" She's like, "Yes." So they found some common ground toward the end.
that's good.
I forgot that she was a child actor.
Yeah,
So you
oh
have to
god,
also
yeah.
fold that in. I forgot that she was on Nickelodeon and that
Mhm,
she was on these other programs. So she was on, let me see, I have my notes, Amanda. My Brother and Me on Nickelodeon. She was on Cop
mhm,
and a Half, the movie.
mhm,
I completely forgot about all these things, but
mhm.
she's describes herself as a scholar of race because she actually has an
A
advanced
master.
degree in
Yeah.
Black history. So she again, like I love the information that she disseminates
Mhm,
to everyone because she gives us some beautiful information, and she's an extremely talented comic. Like her
mhm,
stand up is kind of unparalleled. I put her up there with like a Cat Williams in that sense. And I think they're a lot alike. I think those
mhm.
two people are a lot alike. They want to speak their truth, no matter what people think. I forgot that she was in Flowetry for a hot second.
Somebody told me that. I never listened to Floetry, I'm sorry. But
Oh no, not even the first album.
name a popular song that was on the first album that I might know.
Say Yes.
I
I'm
think
not gonna sing. I'm gonna spare y'all.
I was
But they
gonna ask you to, but I
and I've actually seen them perform. I've seen so when they came back together, they did like a mini reunion
mhm,
um on a cruise that I went on,
mhm.
Capital Jazz Cruise. I mean, beautiful. They sing like angels,
And she can
both of
sing
them.
too. She has a good voice.
Yes, Amanda can sing too. I forgot. I could. Maybe I knew it in the recesses of my mind that she replaced Natalie. So Natalie was the brown skinned sister who was like more Afrocentric with like the turbans and stuff,
Okay,
and then Marsha was the more fair skinned woman with the curly blonde hair. So and
okay.
they're from England, beautiful singers. And when neo soul was first kind of getting its legs,
Mhm,
they were like on ground floor for that. I completely forgot, but I feel like Amanda being in that group was a mismatch. It didn't She did not make sense to
mhm.
replace Natalie. First of all, black people are not going to be well receiving of you replacing a brown skinned woman with a light skinned woman, and I'm just being 100.
Uh-huh.
We didn't like it on the Fresh Prince. Okay, when you did Aunt Viv like that. We didn't like it on My Wife and Kids when you replaced the dark skinned daughter with the light skinned woman. And this is not me being a colorist. This is me saying, like, no, we don't like the flow. Like
Mm-hmm.
should match like. Find somebody who's similar, similar. And it just didn't make sense to have Marsha and Amanda. And then Marsha felt this kind of way, Natalie felt the kind of way, and then Amanda was sleeping with somebody, I think the producer, somebody. She was sleeping with somebody behind the scenes, which made it even more messy. That wasn't going to go well, period.
Okay.
I don't care how good you sing.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't know. I've heard it, but like I said, I never really.
All this is in the 3 hours, child. I got a clinic.
So, what was your overall like? I like that you say that she doesn't take accountability, because I think that is
There are times she does
of
not. She
the
does not. I feel.
issue. But in other than the racism, what was the other big moment in the interview? Because I saw the racism, and then I saw, I think that was the racism and something else he said. Oh, about her white parents that she don't have. And
Which
I'm
do
like,
not exist.
come
Her parents are
here.
both a blacker.
But when she said my mother is black and she's from a Caribbean island, he was no, he said she's from Grenada. He's like, oh, she's West Indian. What did that mean? Like, oh, she's
Did he
West
say that? Did he?
Indian.
Does he even know that?
That's what I'm saying. What did you mean, sir? That
But no, that is so. I get why he would say West Indian because you'd have to kind of be from those little Central American
means.
countries like Belize. Actually, well, Grenada's West Indian.
Mhm,
So those little countries like right around there, you'd have to kind of know. But yeah, she is West Indian, and that is a thing that could affect a lot of things. But yeah, she is not a white woman.
mhm.
Let's be clear.
And she was pretty much so raised in the United States. So,
She was
talking
in
about her,
Florida. I think she was
talking about
born.
her, yeah. So yeah, he made no sense to me. So overall, what your top three moments on?
No, top 3 moments of the interview?
I know I put you on the spot. My
Oh
bad.
gosh. Top 3 moments, her just talking about what kind of child she was, because it reminded me so much of myself
Hmm.
and how I was like one to I would definitely correct you even if you were a teacher, didn't care.
Hmm.
I would even write like
Airy.
one time we had to write a paper on endangered species and I chose the black male. And this was like the 80s girl. I was that kid. And I think I got an A on that joint.
Okay. Okay.
So it wasn't the project, wasn't what they were expecting, but they let me roll with it.
Hmm.
Um,
And you were in Mexico too, so
I was in Medco.
Mhm,
I was in a progressively white, predominantly white school.
mhm,
She just her talking about how she she dealt with self-esteem issues, and that's why where a lot of her bravado comes from is
mhm.
her like, well, if you're not going to accept me, I'm just going to be me. But that can wear you down, that can be taxing, and I think that's why she had the nervous breakdown, is because she's always second guessing herself, so she overcompensates, and that can wear you down. And I understand elements of that too. Not now the other moment, which I wouldn't say it's a top moment, it's a moment that I have concerns about, is her referring to herself as
Okay.
being on the spectrum and being, we no longer use Asperger's because he's canceled for possibly being a Nazi. So we
Oh,
say spectrum and we say neurodivergent.
okay.
Her saying that she's autistic, which I don't have a problem with her saying she's autistic. What I have a problem with is her saying that she was clinically diagnosed, because that's what she implied in the video.
Mhm.
But now I'm seeing other things on socials, which I may need to fact check, saying with her out of her mouth, I'm not sure if it was AI, saying, I haven't been clinically diagnosed by a doctor. This is what I believe about myself. That's different. Don't be out here throwing autism on yourself, girl. I don't like that. That's her not holding herself accountable.
But did she
You trying to blame it on
Did
on
you
the
hear her
autism.
say that, or are the people reporting that she said that?
No, there was a live, and again, it
It was
could be
her?
AI because there's a lot of manipulation, but there was a follow-up video where she said, "No, I have not been diagnosed." So I don't know timeline because
Okay.
maybe she got diagnosed after, and that's
Mhm.
out of sequence. So I like to
Okay.
give people the benefit of the doubt. But if she has not been tested and she did a test on her computer at the house, don't do that because my son is is actually diagnosed on the spectrum.
Mhm.
We know and love
Oh,
people
no,
who
my
actually
granddaughter is on the.
are neurodivergent.
Mhm.
Do not hide behind that as a shield for your behavior. I don't like that.
Okay, that's where you going. Okay, yep, no, I agree 100% because, but I'll be honest, part of me always thought that she was on the spectrum way before.
Based on what she's saying, I'm on the spectrum, which is possible, but I have not been diagnosed.
No, no,
Therefore, I will not
I'm
tell you that.
describing the overly aggressiveness to get a point, because like sometimes when you speak to people on the spectrum, that before you finish, when you're trying to explain something, that they got to get their thought out really, really quick,
Mhm.
because either they're on the spectrum, or they're just like, just bullies with their words. So I always thought it could be either way with her. So it would not surprise me, but I agree with you 100%. Do not self diagnose anything. Get that.
But then she tried to backpedal on what the live that I saw saying was don't try to use the patriarchal system of diagnosis. I diagnosed myself. Like, no, we're not doing that today.
And this is where the problem is.
Let's not do that, sis, because you're doing people
Yeah.
a disservice. So a lot of the things she describes, such as stimming, I do those things too. I'm like, I stim as well. We talked about this the other day. My daughter's like, why are you always doing running? Why are you always going on? Why are you always trying to do
What's
things?
stimming? I've been hearing, and I've been reading a little bit about it. I'm just saying, just explain it a
Yeah.
little for people who might not know.
So people who are neurodivergent often stim, so they'll do repetitive things or they will do busy things to um to calm themselves and soothe. And that in just as there's a spectrum of autism, there's a spectrum of stimming. So stimming could be flapping your hands in a way that's not considered normal. It could be twirling a lock of your hair. It could be watching the same TV show over and over and over again, like the same episode, not just the same series, but like the same episode, listening to the same song repeatedly. There are different ways of stimming. She described her stimming as, I think she said, just constantly going, 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 and doing things. I'm like, that's a very vague description of stimming. And I was like, I do those. A lot of the things she was describing, I'm like, based on what you're saying, not picking up societal cues. I remember as a kid, I would always be like one or two steps behind, and people would say, "Oh, she daydreams." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Was I doing neurodivergent stuff? Or was I daydreaming? I would rather go to someone who's supposed to be an expert on the subject before self-diagnosing myself.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. With something like autism, I just feel like be careful with that. I
Yeah.
don't think she's doing a service to people who actually are neurodivergent by professing to be that and then saying that you were diagnosed
Mm-hmm.
as well because he asked her that question very specifically and she said yes.
Okay. Yeah, and using that as an excuse for your behavior, because at this
Right.
point, I
That was the
wonder,
point.
has she had? Did she speak about therapy in the 3 hours?
Yes.
She did.
She sees a therapist. And she does have a circle of friends, and she says that she is loved and she does have friends. They're just not the Hollywood people that she wants to be in with.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that feeling of isolation and loneliness, like you want to be with the cool kids,
Mm-hmm.
but if they suck, why you want to be with them so bad?
But also too, it's about your chill behavior. Like I'm saying, like you can't be a buzzkill every time you go to a party. And then at one point, when do you say, well, this person is saying this about me, and this person is saying this about me, and this person is saying this about
Not
me?
start to self-reflect.
You got to start pointing that back at you and figure it out, which is why, like I said, like me with the politics, I could be a buzzkill with that. But I know that bring it back.
But that's so I know that about you. So when you start getting into your zone, I'm like, let me give her space. And then you find other people, like we were at that other event a couple of weeks ago and you found someone who was like equally as passionate as you. I love that for you. Do you know what I mean? So that's my thing.
Mhm.
Rock with those who rock with you. If
Yeah,
your
you're right.
friends know you're extra and they love you for that, rock with those people. But and I understand like the industry is very cutthroat. Somebody described it as like shark infested waters. Oh my gosh, I wish I could remember
Mm,
the exact term and the metaphor that was used, but they said, the Hollywood is just is crazy. And then Black Hollywood, we want to believe everyone's friends and kikiing, but they're all competing. They're all
yeah.
competing with each other. And I'm still trying to understand how she got canceled.
Yeah, canceled from what? I mean, well, is she canceled because she has both podcasts. She's still making money.
So she
She's
did
good.
say that that
Just not going
woman,
to parties.
the publicist lady, was making calls behind the scenes, kind of bashing her, and so she did get some interview cancellations. But that
But she did
insecure,
go on to do
insecure was like 4 years ago now. Come on
yeah,
now.
and she in the meantime she did the View, not the View. What was it?
She did the real,
The Real
and that also
for Showtime. Now we knew
he
that
asked
was
her
going
about
to work. We knew
he asked
that
her
was
about
going to
that
work.
too.
But
Yeah.
so she's consistently gotten gigs. So I think when she's saying she's canceled, maybe that they're not socializing with her. They're not
So
with her on that end.
she did say that she had something coming up. She was on another show and I forgot the name of it. She was on it with Wayne, I want to say Wayne Brady, Jeff Foxworthy, and
Was it
oh,
what line
somebody.
is it? Oh,
No, it was a
oh,
comedy. It was some comedy show like on a network. And she said that actually one of the people that rode for her was Jeff Foxworthy. They asked her to do something. Oh, they were supposed to be drinking or something, and she doesn't drink.
mm-hmm,
So she refused to pretend to drink.
mm-hmm,
So again, a scenario where she could have got a ginger ale and acted like it was, I
mm-hmm.
don't know, what a Coke, and acted like it
Got
was a
it
rum and
real
coke.
and just said it was a it's
But
good.
those that's against her moral character. I get it. But you're in Hollywood, ma'am. This is it's smoke and mirrors. And so Jeff Foxworthy actually said Amanda's uncomfortable and if I'm not going to drink either. And because the white man said it, they let it ride for both of them.
Mhm.
But that's what allyship looks for. And that was beautiful because you don't expect to hear Jeff Foxworthy was the one. It wasn't Wayne Brady, it was Keenan Thompson that was
Okay.
on the show with her. I'm gonna Google it real
Yeah,
quick.
because I'm trying to figure. That's what I'm saying. I see her always saying that she has like gigs coming up, and so I don't see her being canceled. Canceled. You just don't have the friend group that you want.
Right. And I think if you think about it, it's her work, right?
Hmm.
So if I was at work and nobody talked to me, because that's what she said happened like on the set of Insecure, people stopped talking to her, they alienated her. And we know women can be petty. People in general can be petty. And that's you can choose your friends. You can't always control your work environment.
Yeah.
So I understand her feeling like, dang, I work with these people. And they did her really wrong when it came to her hosting the BETs from her house one year and never inviting her back. That was crazy. And she had to do her own hair and makeup and wire her own house
Yeah. I thought when
to
I heard
prevent.
that one, I was just like, that was a little. So as we wrap this up, let me ask
Yes.
you a question.
Yes.
What was your feelings on Issa after listening to her?
Okay. This is what I feel because I also adore Issa Rae. I love what she stands for.
Mhm.
And the woman that I see, because again, I don't know any of these people. I only know what they present
Right.
on television. I feel like Issa also there are character traits in her that are of me. I sometimes I'm just tired of nonsense, so I'm just gonna figure out how can we squash this so we can move on.
Mhm.
And that's what it seemed like she tried to do. First, she tried to let them handle it themselves and not get involved because it's her publicist, and yes, she was the boss of both of them.
Mhm.
But her thing was like, this is between two grown women.
Mhm.
Squash it yourself, and they couldn't do it. So then Issa decided to intervene And I'm like, what is it that you want this woman to do? She can make people be cordial, but she can't make people be your friends or like you.
Hmm.
She does not have that kind of control. And if she did, it would be fake. So I think she did what she could in that scenario.
So what about the when she said that Issa made her cry when she was talking about she was being bullied on the set, and she's like, and she cried in my face.
Oh, she laughed in her
Laughed.
face.
Oh, laughed. She said I was crying and she laughed in my face. Now let me give you my take.
Okay.
Far as Issa goes, I'm gonna ride for her too. I'm just gonna ride for her. I like her.
Yeah.
But do I think that she could be probably petty? I think she
I'm
could.
sure.
I believe it 100%. Do I think that if it was somebody else, which she probably would have rode a little bit harder? I do. Only because again, I'm going back to what Mia said. You can be a vibe killer. And if this person don't like you because you are constantly killing the vibe, then I can't come save you every time. You got to learn how to save yourself. And I think that's what she's a grown woman. And so in when she was saying that when Shannon Sharpe was saying to her, Issa has all these, black executives, black people working behind the line, and she's supporting these women.
She didn't
Like
feel
like
protected.
I
And
don't feel protected.
yeah.
It's unfortunate that you didn't, but again, you were running your mouth. Why we
I know she was. That's the point. It's like, girl, don't. But groupthink is also very dangerous, and I try to be conscious of that
Mhm.
because sometimes when you collectively as a group start to feel a way about a person,
Yeah, you're
it
right.
it, it becomes irrational.
Mhm.
And I've studied, I'm not a psychology major, but I've studied the psychology of groupthink as a course in college, and it is very dangerous when people get together and decide on something that's not the right thing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
feels like it's right. And I think that may be happening to her as well. So I'm not saying Amanda's making everything up or imagining this behavior. However, if you're irritating and the group decided you're irritating, especially black people, we going to put you in the corner for a little while.
And I'm got group think, and I'm just gonna slide into just one political statement. That's it. Group think is how we got Nazi Germany. Don't do it.
Plain and simple. Don't do it. Think for yourself. Think for yourself and speak for yourself. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a difference of opinion. Don't just and so in some ways that's what she kind of says is that sometimes she's the oddball out when people think one way, but analyze, assess. Don't just jump to the conclusion that the group is wrong, but also analyze yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Don't come in because she says she's feeling bullied, but you probably bully too, ma'am.
And but she doesn't see herself as a bully. That's another thing about her accountability.
Yeah.
She's like, how can I bully someone who's my boss? You certainly 100% can.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've done it myself. If you're slick with it, you can bully your own boss. I've done it. I'm not proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my past, but
Mm-hmm. Hey, if that's what happened, that's what happened.
I had to combat the microaggressions is what had happened. So, but anyway.
All right. I mean, yeah, that was a lot, but it was
It was a
informative
lot.
because
It was a lot. And I would say if you got the time, watch part one and part two is 3 hours or more total. But I at no point did I want to turn it off.
really.
I went right into part two.
Okay, okay. I mean, yeah, yeah, I might try it. I might try it. Put it on as I'm like, like you said, cleaning the house or whatever, and just listen. But
Mhm.
I feel like I'll miss a lot seeing their interaction if I
I
listen.
listened.
Oh,
I listened
okay.
to the whole
Yeah,
thing.
I do want to see their interaction because maybe that will make me not so angry with him because I'm very angry with him. I don't
Well, she talked to him a couple of times and he did receive
Yeah. Okay.
a little bit of it.
All right. Well, that's it for Amanda.
That's it for
That was
Amanda.
the Amanda show. So that was we'll wrap this up. But that was a lot, and I do wish her the best. I do like her. Like you said, her comedy is more than just comedy. It's very informative. She's knowledgeable. She's a smart woman. But
Right.
she's growth. She still needs growth.
She's 42 years old,
She still
to
needs
my
growth.
point, and she's saying she diagnosed herself with autism at 42. So I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that right there.
And I
Self-diagnosed.
think part of her breakdown, and she had this on her podcast, was a breakup with someone that she was living with.
And she's been with some janky men, which she also talked about. That can wear you down.
Yeah. So that
And if you don't have a supportive person, so let's say everyone's coming for you and you don't have someone in house or close to be able to say, babe, this is happening to me. And they're like, I got you, I got your back, blah, blah, blah. I don't think she has that.
yeah.
And I don't know. She could be very well in a good, healthy relationship, but I think that may have been
I think
something
she's
that could
not
have
with
saved her.
anybody right now.
I
I
don't
think
think she
that
is
was
either.
very recent that she had
Yeah.
that breakup, and it was very sad listening to her talk about it, and
Yeah.
it really resonated
Yeah,
with
it's probably compounding
me.
issues. So
Yeah, so that definitely was it. So we'll end out with TEDx.
upcoming event.
TEDx, yep, TEDx next Saturday, May 4th.
Yeah, the fourth.
May
Coming
4th.
up, 6 days.
What
Get
else?
your tickets, get your TEDx merch on Eventbrite.
No, I don't have
Um,
any merch. I got to get some merch.
t-shirt, you got to get the
Sure.
t-shirt. It's
Like
really cute.
wear it.
So that's coming up at Roxbury Community College in Boston. Make sure you get that, or you can also go on the TEDx Roxbury YouTube. Why am I staggering? TEDx Roxbury YouTube, and you can stream and you can also watch those videos. It takes about a month for the videos to actually be approved through TEDx, the big TEDx, but you will be able to watch them a month after, so sometime in early June. And I also want to encourage people to come out to Newport, Rhode Island. I know people think it's just ritzy and, celebrities and wealthy Thurston Howell the third people, but it's not. It's not just that. There's actually a really great exhibit called the Gilded Age Newport that's going to be taking place. It's actually happening now, and it's over June 30th. So you've got plenty of time to go, but I say go as soon as possible. And it's an exhibit from 10 to 3, and it actually explores the African American contribution to Newport.
That is wonderful. I wants to tell my grandson he's doing some dropping it like it's hot right now, and I was trying
Oh,
to turn the camera on to catch him, but I could not do it. But
not you're not fast enough. You
I'm
can
not
get fast
fast
enough.
enough. You think he's trying to throw me off? But I definitely want to see that. We should plan to go.
Yeah, and I think we
Definitely.
should go for the listeners who can't make it to Newport so they can know what it's all about. But there's that misconception that Newport is white, white, white. And
Hmm.
Newport is actually a collective of different kinds of people. Some people who came to work from the Caribbean and never went back because they liked Newport so much. There, I believe there's a Cape Verdean presence too because of the fishing and whaling community from few not decades ago, from about a century ago. So I'd like to go and see more of it, but population wise, Newport definitely has a good representation
Yeah,
of Black people.
so that's great. I definitely want to go. So next week, May 4th, is very busy. So I will be missing out on all the Star Wars stuff.
You won't miss out.
May the 4th, I'll be at TEDx all day.
That's okay. You can represent. You could bring your Darth Vader's gear.
Someone just
May the fourth be with you. We'll be there in
Can
spirit.
you see that? Can you see that?
I see it. Oh, let's see. I will not be.
It's a condom.
Oh, okay. That's so cute.
That's like the funniest thing. Anyway, with that, we are going to be out of here. Peace out. And until next week, we will see you again. Have a great one.
Toodaloo.